welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Daniel Gray. I work with AtScale. We are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDOIQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Anish Gandhi. He's a managing director at Glassdoor. Anish, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it. Yeah, I work as an analytics director at Glassdoor with around 15 years of experience in the world of engineering, analytics, information systems, and primarily focus on building the analytics platform and driving data analytics for B2B space at Glassdoor for the entire go-to-market. That includes sales, marketing, customer success. That's what I do right now.
Awesome. Sounds like a little bit of everything, but a lot of analytics.
Absolutely. Live and die in data,
Awesome.
day in, day out.
You know, what are the qualities that you look for when you're hiring data and analytic leaders into your organization?
Yeah. So for me, there are several aspects. It's not about just analytics, but it's the overall persona as a leader as well. And the most important quality is that people's first quality. When you hire a leader, you look for, are they putting the team first? Are they have the high integrity, build that trust and empower the team and enable team for success and create that culture of high performance and foster them for higher success and build future leaders. So that's definitely number one thing I look for. On top of that, from analytics perspective, I look, what is the problem solving capability of this individual? Are they able to break down problem into smaller unit and try to go deep in terms of problem solving approach, and how strong the business acumen is, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. Driving the team, having strong problem skills, and focused on driving businesses through analytics is something I look for in a leader.
Awesome. Anish, that's great. And I completely agree. People that use we instead of I, are focused on the team instead of, are really great leaders and being able to solve complex problems. That's what we do. That's the industry we're in. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right. So what are some tips and tricks for creating a data-driven culture?
So data-driven culture, it's not an easy journey, and especially if depending on the maturity of the organization, but if the organization is in a growing phase, to some of the short-term tricks of data-driven culture is that when you join, you need to have a short-term, medium-term, and long-term strategy, and some of the fastest way is what are the low-hanging fruits I can get, most of the time, a lot of the people in the business world look for basic information, and it's like a basic staple food, and when you are struggling for basic, and if you can get them done in the fastest way, then to start building the adoption of the data-driven, we are able to get some short-term wins, and more of a long-term strategy perspective is more about getting the buy-in from executives. It is more of a top-down culture where you need the buy-in from the executives, have the cross-functional alignment across different stakeholders across the business, and then drive more of a data-driven culture. It's a journey for about 12 to 18 months at least to have the data transformation completely to short-term wins, and then in long-term is more about long-term, is more about scaling and automation.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. There's a tactical component to it, and getting the people on the ground, providing that data, and then you have the leadership. Ultimately, you want the leaders to be able to base decisions on the data.
Exactly.
And so that's great. That's great information. What should analytic leaders avoid doing? When it comes to a data-driven culture.
One of the biggest thing what I've seen throughout my career is that a lot of these leaders, analytical leaders, are people pleaser, in terms of saying yes to everything and anything, whatever the stakeholder asks for. And that sometimes kind of derails the path of the data culture, because the moment you go into specification of meeting each and every customer needs, you're not going to be successful. You're just going to create multiple data sets, multiple data reports, and it's just going to create more noise. So that is something I would avoid. I would highly recommend to avoid it, that focus more on generalization, that is through scaling and automation, and which caters to 80 to 85% of the audience, and focus less on specification. That's what I would recommend to analytical leaders.
Yeah, that's awesome feedback. You got to be critical about the questions you're being asked and the features you're being asked to develop. So that makes a lot of sense. And finding generality is key to that. How do you think about prioritizing investment in tools and people and processes in that data-driven culture?
So if you see my ideology, I always put people first, right? So it's all about putting the investment first in people. It's the people who are going to define the process. It's the people who are going to implement the process. Once you invest in people, then you start implementing the processes, and then comes a tool in terms of capturing all the information which is being implemented as a part of the process across different systems. So that's what my order would be: people, process, and tools. Tools is the last option, because there are so many tools in the market. I would probably decide on the business needs and the organization needs.
No, that's super refreshing. People first is, a great way to look at it. And once you have the people in place, then the processes and tools should follow along.
Exactly.
Awesome. And how do you work with other leaders and organizations?
So I am in a very cross-functional role where I work with multiple stakeholders, whether it's finance, business, marketing. I think the biggest thing is about being transparent, being honest, and setting the expectations and having an alignment across the cross-functional stakeholders that what we are doing, is it meeting the organization objectives or not? Is it aligned with the global goals or not? That is number one thing. And making sure that everybody's aligned with the priorities, setting the expectation, having periodic check-ins with the leaders to make sure that everything is on track. And if anything needs to reshuffle from priorities perspective, and we are still on track. So that's how I operate in terms of just keeping the engagement, very increase engagement as the time progresses, and have the expectations and alignment done.
That's awesome. Yep. And I think, the approach of transparency and honesty is key, because then you're not going to lose those communication channels. And that's really good. That's really good feedback there. And then, what do you think is the most important job of an analytics leader?
To be very honest, is building the brand of credibility and trust. Because data is something in the world of analytics is driven by trust a lot. Once people start building trust on what you deliver through analytics and data, people will start recognizing you, people will come to you, and they will look up to you for anything and everything from data perspective. So building that trust and credibility with the business stakeholders or across the organization is the number one thing as an analytics leader to be successful and to drive data-driven culture.
Awesome. Well, Anish, thank you very much for joining me. And it's been a real pleasure speaking to you.
Likewise.
And, for folks out there that are listening, please visit the cdomagazine.tech for, any additional interviews.